Hey everybody, welcome to Pepe's YouTube channel. Today I'm going to talk about this little landscaped area in the front that's a sort of a little mini food forest, and let's go take a look. This area here is along a concrete wall, and we have elevated this area. Well, we did it a couple of years ago, and we went up about a good 2-foot elevation in the front, and then we put these landscape logs to kind of retain the soil, to build a retaining wall. Alright, so right here behind me I have a cassava plant. This one was planted when it was about 5 months old, and now we've added about another 9 months, so we're about roughly 13 months in the ground. So it's just a little over a year, and it's going to be time to harvest real soon. I can probably harvest it the way it is now, but usually what we do is we wait till there's some defoliation. You start to lose most of the leaves, and at that time it's really the best time to harvest. Also, you don't want to harvest too late, because if you let it stay there for longer than say 14 or 15 or 16 months, you're going to get some really rough cassava. So if you want some really good cassava, usually around 14 months or around the time when you see the leaves actually completely defoliated from the plant. Right next to our cassava plant, I have planted a couple of things here that are interesting that you should note, okay? The first thing is I have the sweet almond bush known as Aloysia virgata. The honeybees love to come around this plant, and you'll see them hovering many times throughout the day. That is very beneficial because then they help to pollinate some of the other plants that are in the garden. This is called sun hemp, and I'll show you some more behind me. The sun hemp is a nitrogen fixer. You want to grow your plants and you want to minimize how much fertilizer you're putting in the soil, because obviously if you're dumping fertilizer, whether it be synthetic or whether it be organic, the more fertilizer, the more phosphorus, the potassium, the nitrogen, all of these things that you're adding to the soil, are going to wash away. Okay, so I'm going to come in here eventually in the next day or so, and I'm going to clean this up, because you can see Aloysia virgata is nice and tall, and it also gets kind of overgrown, and we need to get in there and just clean that up a little bit. Right here is the Alma fig, and I hope you guys and gals take a look at the video. I'll post it of the first video when this was started, so that you can see the contrast between what it looks like now and what it looked like when I began to plant all of these different plants here. You will see how much this plant, the Aloysia virgata, grew. You'll also see how well the Alma fig has grown. The Alma fig's beautiful. See how it can reach way up there? It's practically 6 feet tall. It's got another beautiful growth down here, and there's some more down on the bottom. It's spreading, it's doing great, and it has some awesome figs coming out as well. If you're in the South, Louisiana, Texas, or I should say, South Florida, or any part in the South of the United States, Alma fig is one of the better figs that you should try. It's called Alma, A-L-M-A. And there are some other ones, like LSU Purple is a great fig to grow also here in the South. Let's go move on, and I'll show you a little bit more of what's going on in the food forest. Now I'm holding some mint, some delicious fresh mint in my hand, and you can see that mint makes a great ground cover. Pretty easy to grow. It likes to be kept moist, and if you put that into your landscape area, your food forest or your food garden, and you let it grow, it takes over all around the bottom, and it helps to control the weeds. To a degree, you're always going to have some weeds, but it helps to control with the weeds. Another nice benefit is you have some nice fresh organic mint that you can, it tastes great. You can use this for desserts. You can even make a drink out of it called a mojito. Look it up, mojito. And if you're in South Florida and you go to a bar and you want a nice cocktail, a nice drink, ask for a mojito. It's delicious. Now, if you look at everything else I have here, you're going to notice that I have this fig that I just talked about, and it has like 5 or 6 stalks that are coming out, and it's doing terrific. So I've got to clean the area up a little bit because it's a little overgrown, like I mentioned before, and get a little bit more sunlight in here. But Alma fig is great as well, and planting ground covers that you can eat is a good idea. Let's take a look in the back, and I'll show you the about 5-month-old moringa. This is the PKM1 variety, the one that I offer. I make that available to many people on my website. A PKM1. Look that up, check that out. I've got plenty of those. So I'll show you what that looks like so you can see how fast and how beautiful they grow. Okay, so now I'm standing in the middle of this, and I look over to my left, and I just scared him away, but I had a couple of ladybugs hanging around. I jumped in here and I saw a couple of ladybugs, and then I moved this and the ladybugs flew away. But they like this area. There's literally no pesticides in here. It's very, very healthy looking. I have excellent soil biology here, plenty of breaking down of the mulch and so on, and that's important. Now, over here to my right is the sun hemp. The sun hemp is a nitrogen fixer, like I already mentioned earlier, and it actually puts nitrogen in here to help these plants without me having to go out and buy a whole bunch of nitrogen. I can also chop this up and I can spread it around and add the nutrients that are in the leaves back into the soil. Okay? Behind me is the moringa. This is a terrific moringa called PKM1. It's a better tasting moringa. It's excellent with your vitamins, your minerals, all of the amino acids. I mean, this is an amazing source of nutrition. It's also incredibly good for all types of medicinal uses. You're gonna notice moringa is very, very fast growing. These trees are about 5 or 6 months old, planted from seeds. They started out in a little pot that was deep. About a month later, they were almost 6 to 8 inches tall. I waited a little longer, waited till they were about a month and a half, put them in the ground. You can see what I've got here. And I haven't even started chopping them. They have not been chopped yet. I can take this, I can chop this, I can then take all of these leaves. I can mix them with water. I can mix these leaves with water. Let them sit. Then I can use it as a spray, and that's an organic fertilizer for all of these plants. One of the things that moringa has is called zeatin, Z-E-A-T-I-N. That is a natural plant growth hormone. If you foliar spray your plants with this once a month, you're going to be amazed at what you can do in terms of productivity, in terms of the health of the plants. There's so much you can do. Okay? You've got to try to grow moringa. It's very, very valuable plant. Now let me tell you a little bit about what's in front of me. And this is the ají cachucha. This is an excellent pepper plant that has no heat whatsoever. Very easy to grow from seeds, and a very nice addition to your garden. If you want to make some dishes where, like black beans or some type of a Spanish dish or a Caribbean dish, it's always good to add this, as long as you're not looking for heat, because there's really no heat inside these peppers. All right, so now I'm going to bring your attention to, again, the moringas that are behind me. And you can see this nice tall one that's probably, I would say, pretty close to 8 feet. Now that tree has a nice little clean trunk there because I've been taking off some of the stems, taking off the leaves, and using them for nutrition, and in some cases, not yet, but in the past, I've used them as a foliar feed for my plants. Okay? So 1, there's 2, there's 3 moringas back there. Bring your attention over here. Below me is the Okinawa spinach. This is a great salad plant, loaded with nutrition, something completely different from your typical supermarket salads. Now, if you want to try and grow the Okinawa spinach, you'll do great. It's real easy. It likes the full sun or even the partial shade. Just keep it moist. It'll do terrific. Over here, we're going to focus on in just a minute. I'm going to show you that peanut butter tree. We got some fruit coming, and the tree's only a little bit over 2 years old. All right, so this is the peanut butter tree, and I'll take a couple of pictures and post it so you can see that all of the flowering that developed over the last couple of weeks has already begun to set fruit, and we've got some very tiny little fruit that are developing right here on my tree. And I am excited to try this, and in about a month or two we'll do another video where we'll do a taste test and we'll tell you how to grow this from seed. We'll show you how to plant them, how to grow them, and we are also going to do an air layer of these trees. So you've seen my previous videos on air layering, and we're going to do another one on this particular tree because I think that an air layer is going to work out just great. You can grow from seed, but why do that when you already have a plant that's producing? If it turns out to be a good, tasty fruit, and I really like it, you know, something that's not sour, something that doesn't give me a lot of challenges, which it seems to be pretty easy, I think we'll go ahead and we'll air layer it, and that way we'll have a tree that's producing peanut butter fruit much quicker than if I plant seeds. All right, so let me show you guys the ghost pepper plant. It's back here, a little bit shady, in a bit of a kind of a microclimate. It's doing great. I'm gonna pull one of the peppers off so you can see it. It's not ready, but I'm gonna pull it off anyway because this thing produces like crazy. Look at that. That thing's got about 12 of them on there hanging like this. And these guys are deadly. I have a video all about these types of peppers. I think if you check my channel here, you'll find that video about how to grow pepper plants. And that's got this guy featured. You'll love, you gotta watch that video. All right, now here's our coffee Arabica plant. And if you remember, it was real small. It was literally a little tiny little thing like this. It's growing in an area where it's got some partial shade. It's protecting it, but it's pretty bright actually, but it does protect it from the harsh sunlight. Okay, so tucked away back here, behind the papaya and between the coffee, behind the coffee and the papaya, I have this plant that started out very tiny. It was about a little 6-inch seedling, and this is called the Yacon, Y-A-C-O-N. This is a plant that, well, I gotta tell you, it was very challenging to get this guy to get going down here. But I think it's finally settled in, and it's doing really well. And the reason that you would grow this is called a Peruvian apple. This has edible roots, and it's a little bit like yucca, but you would dig this up and then you would chop up the roots, slice them, and eat them like apple slices. You can also make a kind of a sugary syrup also from those roots. Yacon is a very interesting exotic that you might want to consider growing in your edible food forest.